Okay, so thank you very much, PwC, for having me here in Singapore. And my background is I appreciate a kind introduction for myself. I retired from a GPIF, Government Pension Investment Fund, one of the largest public pension fund in the world with 1.809 trillion US dollars as a head of stewardship and ESG. And also, I worked for several Japanese banks as a ESG consultant for Japanese companies, particularly integrated reporting, which is not insufficient yet in this country, but that is a very important tool for disclosure. And so I hope my two backgrounds may be of help to you to understand my presentation from the ISSB today. So this is a very important slide for ISSB because number one, on the top line, we are making a global baseline. Also, we would like to leave our global baseline to each jurisdiction's regulators or say standard setters to add something locally flavored factors, such as local laws or something like that, in addition to that. And so in that sense, we will publicize our S1 and S2 towards the end of this month, June this month, probably in the last week of June. Then we will leave our S1 and S2 standard to be assessed or discussed by each jurisdiction's regulators and standard setters to make up a final version of each jurisdiction's S1 and S2 standard. So that is one keyword today. And also, between investors and companies in the capital market, we are not going to make a completely new standard for disclosures at all. What we are doing right now, we are now consolidating, say, 400 or 500 existing standards in the market into one globally universal disclosure standard, hopefully, as I said. So what happens in the market is that from my experience at the GPIF, investors normally compared their companies in their portfolio, company ABC or something like that, based on their disclosure, particularly for sustainability disclosure as well as financial disclosures at the same time. But what happens now is that company A discloses based on standard A, company B based on standard B, C on C or something like that. So therefore, it is quite difficult for investors to make a complete comparison companies in their portfolio. Then, what investors to do is that requesting companies for additional disclosure. That is a reality. But on the corporate side, they don't understand why investors request additional disclosure, because company made already a disclosure. And investors normally don't explain why. And then companies normally don't ask why. So there is a miscommunication in the capital market. That is a serious problem. Also, companies don't understand which standard ABC at each investors use. So therefore, companies employ TCFD, say GRI, and say CDP, something like that at the same time. So that makes investors more confused. So in order to avoid this situation, we decided to work with globally acknowledged standards as of today, such as integrated reporting, ISSB, and TCFD, CDSB, as well as such and such. Also, we decided to work with friends in the market, such as we first made a MOU with GRI, our friend Elko there, and we recently made a MOU with CDP as well. So that will accelerate the company's feasibility to make more appropriate climate-related disclosures in a sense. And another interoperability, quite a critical interoperability, is say GRI and ESRS. On this diagram, we are, say, such as accounting standard is a dark blue area, and ISSB is a light blue area. And on that, gray area is where the GRI and ESRS exist. So that is the area company make a disclosure for broader stakeholders, not only, say, investors or lenders, but also global additional stakeholders, such as a society, globe itself, climate change, employees, clients, suppliers, or something like that. So we are now doing with a great discussion with GRI and ESRS. Our top management people, say, Emmanuel Faber and Sue Lloyd and Jean Noir, are having a great discussion on the past months to make up great interoperability, say, tools for companies and investors at the end of the day. But today, I can say that all I can say is that we are not yet sure when and how, what at the moment, because we are still on a discussion each other. So that is the one thing I would like to give you a message today. And also, what we are expecting companies is that materiality decision inside the company. We pick up this materiality definition with the ISSB standard. So we use the same standard of materiality. And then we don't make any detailed materiality at this stage because materiality should be decided by companies themselves. And then company disclose their materiality to investors. That is the beginning of engagement between companies and investors on a long-term basis. Materiality definition today is good enough for investors, or relatively good, or not good at all. So that's the beginning of a further engagement between investors and corporates. This is a very critical, definition, and also for S1, S2, we apply, number one, TCFD, say, disclosures for S1 and S2. And we also apply ISSB standards as a non-mandatory tools for the time being both on S1 and S2 as well. So in the last week of June, we will disclose the S1 and S2, but that is not ending for us at all. That will be another journey for ISSB itself to start up the discussion with regulators, standard setters in each region, and also, investors and corporates and accounting people as well as a market, as a capital market participant going forward. So this will be a very much long journey, I'm sure to say that. And perhaps that I expect questions from you later today about relief. We set up several relief compared from our ED March last year. So in that sense, we very much appreciate your comment letters from all of the many stakeholders with 1,400 comment letters in a sense. So we very much appreciate it to change our understanding or to revise our original ED to the much more applicable say S1 and S2 standard at the end of the day. And towards our effective dates, 1st of January next year, I think that, and after that, probably it will take 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years from 1st of January 2014 at each jurisdiction level to adopt our S1 and S2 standards as a mandatory standard at each company level. So particularly large cap companies and also mid and small companies maybe, which are already familiar with the disclosure of sustainability based on TCFD and the CDP, GRI, can challenge on a voluntary disclosure basis to prepare for day one when each jurisdiction decides to start up mandatory disclosures at each company level. So we very much expect the large cap companies and the companies those to challenge as a voluntary disclosure to accumulate their own know-how or knowledge and say internal resources to be prepared for day one. So for that purpose, we are now making say kind of educational materials or webinars or knowledge hub at each level particularly for small and mid-cap companies to prepare for our S1 and S2 standard. And at the same time, as well, it is quite difficult for me to say when we can show you our materials, but our staff has been very much working to make up such great tools to support the companies like that. And corporate and the country level, I think that voluntary disclosures made by large cap companies will be a good example for small and mid-cap companies as well to prepare for that. So that is a very big contribution by large cap companies to contribute to the company's level disclosure, in a sense, at the capital market. That's what we are now aiming at. And finally, next step. As you may be aware that we are now posting 2 public consultations. One is our next 2-year action plan, including biodiversity, human capital, and human rights issues, as well as integration reporting. It is going to be 1st of September, so we very much expect you to send us your comment. Not word file, but online, say, surveys, if possible. So what we are, expecting is that those 3 possible topics, is that message or topics by investors in a global market. This is not our decision at all. This is a message from the global investors. They would like to ask for companies to disclose biodiversity, human rights, and human capital topics. I quite agree with my experience from a GPIF. The GPIF's asset managers said exactly the same 3 topics as well. So we are now looking forward to your comments. Which one should be highest top priority? And then, for example, biodiversity and human capital might be top priorities or something like that. So we very much looking forward to your comments, how we do, when we do, and what we do based on that. And integration reporting is a little bit complicated topic right now, which we are now internally discussing with ISSB as well. So that is very much long-term, topic, how to connect, how to combine sustainability disclosure and financial disclosures. So probably very much another long journey to give a solution to this issue. But this is just the beginning of our, proposal to ask for your comments about that. So this is my message today, and I'm very much look forward to your questions later, and also fireside chat. Thank you very much indeed.